Brodes Media.
Oh, hey there. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to yell about the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's New Year's Eve, and people are supposed to be excited. And I thought, who's somebody who can match my energy right before the ball drops and right before we switch into a year of 2024? Who can help me get rid of whatever the hell that was today? And I thought, you know what? I got it. I got the guy. It's Brodes.
Well, what's up, dude?
How's it going?
What the hell was that?
What the hell was what? The intro, the game, the end of the Flyers game that we sat here and watched between the two of us from a distance.
The AEW pay-per-view.
We're not doing that today. We're talking about the Eagles because I can't believe you're wearing the hat. Like, I have my hat over here too, all right? Like, I could match you. I could match you with pride, except there's not a lot to be proud of with that Eagles game today, because what we saw was a team that has been fundamentally broken for nearly a month. A team that once had some kind of an image. It had some kind of identity. It has gone through not only an identity crisis, an identity demolition. Brock Purdy and company shoved dynamite up Nick Sirianni's keister, and they lit that on fire. And the team hasn't been the same since. I'm sure that you've had a very rational approach to this, and I'm sure that this didn't emotionally trigger you in any way.
Yeah, no, that's great of you to bring up. You're right. You nailed it. This team stinks, dude. This team is so bad. They're so bad. They stink. Their offense is so embarrassing. Jonathan Gannon actually outcoached the hell out of them. Do you ever believe that there would be a situation where Sirianni forward thinks and gets ahead of a move like, I don't know, onside kick? That was genius. And we all knew in that time that it was going to work because there's less time for the Eagles to work with. And then think about what they did after that onside kick. Jalen Hurts, keeper, screen pass, field goal. This team stinks. Thanks for having me on, Russ.
All right, everybody have a great night. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you in 2024. No, but you're right. And the funny thing is, when the onside kick happened, I went, all right. When I saw them line up, I went, all right, we're in good shape, because what will happen here, and I think I tweeted about it at the time, I was like, all right, they're going to do this onside kick. It's either going to work or it's not, right? And if it doesn't work, what's going to end up happening is they're going to get the ball, right? The Eagles are going to end up getting the ball back. They're going to go down. They're probably going to stall out, short field. I have no confidence in the combination of Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson. None whatsoever. Any confidence that might have existed has long since eroded. And I thought, okay, they're gonna go down. They'll probably end up with 3. And then there's going to be enough time left on the clock, because you know they're not going to manage the clock well enough to prevent Kyler Murray from getting that ball and from giving Arizona a chance. When your defense has been unable to force a punt the entire day, when your Eagles defense has looked like absolute dog shit in the second half, there is no chance on earth that they're going to get a stop when they need to down the stretch in this game. And when the Eagles did what they did on that final drive, when they did exactly what I think everybody knew they would do, which is shit the bed, play calling, massive issue, huge issue on that last drive. And then what does the defense do? The defense goes over, it rolls over, and it dies. And why? Because it doesn't have good personnel. And why? Because Sean Desai, who got publicly emasculated, got replaced, apparently now, reportedly, lost the third down play calling responsibilities a few weeks ago, according to Jeff McClain. Matt Patricia, the ultimate coaching retread, can't get the job done.
It's unbelievable.
This team doesn't have linebackers. Howie Roseman built a defense thinking, you're a linebacker. Who needs a linebacker? I can't believe it. I can, but I can't. This shouldn't have happened.
No, you're right. You're right. Dude, they were up 21-6, and they didn't deserve to at all. They get super lucky because miscommunication. Sidney Brown, that was electric. Sidney Crosby, Sidney Brown, I thought there was something we could really, we could do something with that. Instead, they bent the entire city of Philadelphia over, and it was a disaster. Their coaching is a mess, and as much as I want to rip both defensive coordinators, even though one still has the title, that guy's sitting up in the booth, as much as I want to crush them into a billion pieces, Shaq Leonard can't make a tackle. Some of this, as bad as the personnel is, as bad as the roster is, some of this is just not having the fucking balls, dude. Like, they are bad, but they shouldn't be so bad that you get milked down to 8-9 minute drives. It blows.
It's horrific. There's no excuse for it. You mentioned Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard looks like Shaq when he played for this Boston Celtics. Like, and the worst part is when you go back to it, and like when the Eagles and the Cowboys were both courting Shaq Leonard, you know, people are going, oh, he's an all-pro. He's an all-pro. You're going to bring him in. You're going to finally fill this issue, this big deficiency, this blind spot that Howie Roseman had. As if Howie Roseman has ever done a good job of solidifying a linebacking core in either of his times in this position with the team, which he has not, right? Like, there have been a couple of times he's made a good acquisition. Nigel Bradham. We'll go with Nigel.
Yeah, like TJ as an undrafted player was solid, but when it was time to pony up and cash out, he was being a little dweeb.
Yep. So, like, you look at it and go, all right. This team, my big issue right now is that this team came in with all the Super Bowl aspirations. You had the team that was supposed to be hungry, the team that had the right leadership, the team that had the right quarterback, the team that had arguably the best wide receiver duo in the entire league, maybe not named Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But other than that, likely the best wide receiver duo. I had an issue with the running back depth. I thought going into the season that you're really putting a lot on Swift, who has had injury issues in the past. Kenneth Gainwell, decent backup guy, maybe a decent third back, certainly not somebody who's supposed to be splitting like 50-50 or anywhere close to it. And then you had Penny, who also couldn't stay healthy. All right, cool. You had that. You have arguably the best offensive line in football, or so we're made to believe. Dallas Goedert, a very good tight end. We're made to believe that, hey, this team has all of the tools on that side of the ball. And yet, week in and week out, do you ever feel confident that if this team falls behind by 10 points, by 2 touchdowns, that they have it in them to go back and get those points back? Because I can tell you, I haven't had that confidence. And it's not just from this 1-4 stretch. I haven't had the confidence since maybe like week 5.
Which is crazy because
it's not there.
I could make the argument that there were times where I thought no matter what, they were going to win that game, right? Prior to San Fran, they're down to the Buffalo Bills, and here's an epic overtime comeback. That used to be part of their DNA. Now they can't hold a lead against teams that shouldn't even be able to compete. Jonathan Gannon just coached circles around this entire staff. If that's not embarrassing when they look in the mirror, I don't know what is. And I hope that it set off some alarms for Howie. Not that I'm calling for Sirianni's job, but I don't have a lot of faith in him at all. I really don't. I don't think he's very good with strategy. And his one solid personality trait is he was able to get everyone on the same page until. And when I say until, I mean when it all broke apart. And that cheerleader attitude, non-professional approach was always a concern of mine for reasons like this. I don't think that works when you got to put all the glue back together.
No, it doesn't. It's the ultimate. I brought this up, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I threw out the idea, are the Eagles just bullies? Is that what they are? Are they just a team that can only ride the confidence and can beat up on weaker teams, and when the going gets tough and they get punched in the face, they roll over and they die? And I was hoping that when I brought that point up, I think it was when they lost to San Francisco, I feel like that's the last time I did the show, that I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case. I was hoping that was going to be a one-off and that San Francisco was just a better team, had more dynamic players, and that like the combination of McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel against a team that has no linebackers was really ultimately going to be the thing. And yet, it's not the case. And I'll tell you right now, dude, the thing that is ultimately going to define the Nick Sirianni experience, like if this falls apart the way it looks like it's heading, where like there's not a first-round playoff game in Philadelphia, where like they could very easily lose in the first round.
Yeah.
The thing that will ultimately haunt that man is this. All right? I'm gonna reenact this, and I think you're gonna know exactly what it is. That fucking slow-mo going into the commercial break where he's seeking out the sky cam, and it's just mean mugging. And like people didn't like that. And other teams didn't like that. And like if you don't think that there's a small part of you as an opposing coach or player that doesn't want to shove it up this guy's ass every time out, I don't have to tell you, that to me was a serious thing where it's like, all right, if you're winning and if you go out and you win the Super Bowl and you do, by all means, you can do that. But until you've proven that you can go out and you can do that and you can get this team back to a Super Bowl, probably not smart. Probably not a good plan. probably a little bit too braggadocious.
But it's authentic, and I'm told that being authentic's the best thing when you're the head coach. I disagree. There's a way to be Nick Sirianni without being a douche, and he takes it over too much, and now he becomes a douche, and it becomes sort of just nothing that works. But, man, I'll tell you what, this entire staff right now, A.J. Brown is walking off the field, shaking his head, and now he takes his little jab at the staff again. And all week long, I got to be honest, I was ripping him because I didn't like the way that he was unprofessional, a bad teammate. Poor Devontae Smith had to answer all these questions for him. Yet now I actually like it because it pretty much essentially holds Sirianni accountable. It holds Brian Johnson accountable. You guys are miserable. What is the plan of the offense? It makes absolutely no sense. Quarterback keepers, quarterback draws, and Brian Johnson spoke to the media the other week, and he was defining the RPO for us, right? But as much as I want Jalen Hurts to be able to walk up to the line and just be a fantastic RPO, read and react style of quarterback, right now something's not working. So your duty and job as a head coach, as an OC at that point, is to simplify it. Don't ask him to go to the line and say, all right, read everything, and then it's a pass, it's a run, it's every play. Every play has multiple different options. Forget that, dude. It's not working, so let's simplify it, and instead they continue to try out this mess.
You know what's worse about it, too? Because you mentioned a name that is actually pretty apropos. Devontae Smith was left in there to answer all the questions. Now, I have no problem. Let me be very clear, all right, because this is the nature of my existence in the Philly sports media landscape, is that whenever I put out a tweet, people look and they go, oh, this guy, you're a journalist. You're not supposed to have an opinion on things. You know, journalism's dead, huh? The media's just trying to goad these guys into stuff. And I always come back to, except for the one time that Black Sports Online said I was an Eagles reporter when I did the Gene Simmons, Jalen Hurts tweet, right, which was incorrect, not an Eagles reporter. Other than that, I have never been labeled, nor would have labeled myself an Eagles writer or reporter. I call out the Eagles reporters for doing a poor job and for now becoming state media because they're afraid they're going to be left out in the cold on some scoops. But other than that, I'm not an Eagles guy. I'm allowed to have some fandom here. And I will tell you that I have no problem with a guy like A.J. Brown saying he doesn't want to talk to the media. It's totally fine. You're within your rights to pay the fine, and you can do that. But when it puts a guy like Devontae Smith in position to have to answer all the questions, I do feel a little bit bad for him because you've got the vet versus the young guy. And here's the little reporter cap. Back when Claude Giroux was in town, Claude Giroux a lot of times tried to avoid the media so that the younger guys ended up on some of those bad Hextall teams. They ended up having to be the ones to field all the questions, and I think that was fair at the time. So I'll tell you this, A.J. Brown, he doesn't want to talk to the media. It's fine. He has nothing nice to say. Don't say anything at all. It's totally fine. However, Devontae Smith, I feel bad for today because Devontae Smith is put in as a lead blocker on a 3rd and 19 at the end of a game, on a bubble screen, on a play that should not have been called, on a play that this offensive coordinator and or head coach are obsessed with. And now Devontae Smith leaves Lincoln Financial Field in a walking boot and on crutches. Can you explain to me in any way why that's the play call and why all the bad things happen to Philadelphia?
Well, they're incompetent. That's what it is. Nick Sirianni and these bubble screens, going back to some media press conferences, the latest I heard from him was staples. We have staples in our offense. Your staples suck. Your staples are horrendous. So I don't understand why you keep these staples in your plan. I swear to God, they open up their playbook. It's the tush push. It's a slant. And then it's a, hey, AJ, go make a miracle play for me. That's essentially it. You know, against the Giants, I don't think the score maybe told the story on how much of a dominant performance it was offensively for the Eagles. Well, it's the complete opposite here. They didn't punt the ball. They didn't punt the ball. That's what happens when you play the Chiefs, okay? In their prime, by the way, not this year's Chiefs. That's what happens when you play the top teams. It's not supposed to happen when you play crap, yet it's happening. So they have to have major changes. We have to start looking at Howie again. You know what else pisses me off? A week ago, Eagles Twitter's out there ready to name Ringo Eli Ricks. Dude, that guy got decapitated. Eli Ricks and Josh Jobe as the next starting trio in this city. Holy hell, brainwashed maniacs is what we had here over the last 2 weeks.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
Insane. And look, Ringo has intangibles, this, that. He might be fine. I don't want fucking fine. I want elite. Go get Witherspoon, Seattle Seahawks. Go get a real stud. Not this whole, we're going to draft a bunch of corners in the 4th round and beyond and pray to God one hits. It's a joke.
It's awful. And, you know, like, here's the thing. Conceptually, right? We can agree on this. I think you and I can agree on this. When you go out and you get these young guys and you feel like, hey, this is going to be the next wave. This is the next thing. It's not when you're trying to be a Super Bowl contending team. And it's certainly not something where you're going to have to actually rely on those guys when the chips are down. And that's where they're at right now because, and I'm going to come back to this, I long had done this, but Howie Roseman, he built, yes, did he build a Super Bowl winner? He did. Did he build a team that got back to the Super Bowl last year? He did. But there's one thing that I have always held against him, and it's what I like to call institutional arrogance. There is a feeling around him and how he builds the team that he just has blind spots, that he is unwilling to move on. And the linebacking core, especially this year, is something that if you're a Super Bowl contending team, you can't go in saying Nakobe Dean is going to be our anchor when he's never been able to be healthy, right? When you're bargain barrel hunting for Shaq Leonard, who you're, by the way, former offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, just let go. Is Steichen an idiot? He certainly is not. He certainly looks like he was the mastermind of a very good offense. He let Shaq Leonard go. And the Colts, by the way, were like fighting for playoff contention.
Yes.
You're not letting go of an all-pro linebacker who you think is going to significantly help your chances in the postseason.
Right.
You had to go bargain hunting for this guy because you have no depth, because you didn't bring in a good or borderline great vet to be there alongside a Nakobe Dean, or to have decent enough depth underneath him that if and when he inevitably got hurt, you didn't have to go to the guys you're going to. And Howie is not a first-year GM. These aren't the kind of mistakes that he should be making, and yet he makes them every year. To his credit, the one of the issues that he long had is that he wouldn't go out and target the correct wide receivers. Well, he rectified that. He drafted Devontae. He went out and acquired A.J. Brown. Those are great acquisitions. But having two fantastic wide receivers doesn't mean shit if your defense has an entire level of the defense just flat out missing. And has had it missing, and it appears we'll have that missing going into the playoffs, where you're going to now have to go and win multiple road games just to have a hope that you can make it back to the Super Bowl.
Now, we got to stop with the playoff talk because it's irrelevant at this rate. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. The whole, well, can they win this? What seed are they in? Doesn't matter. They stink. That's reality of it. And I do believe that Howie deserves a lot of criticism here. And it goes back to what I was saying with Nick, just because I'm aggravated and I'm holding someone accountable, and I think what they're doing right now with hindsight wasn't as good as we set it up to be prior to the season. Howie's still one of the better GMs in the league, right? But I share your frustration with him. It wasn't just Shaq Leonard. It's Roby. It's Byard. And guys like Sidney Brown are playing way too much right now. To your point, if you're about to go win a championship, it's not a rookie in Sidney Brown. And I'm not even a big Reed Blankenship guy as your best safety. If he was filtered in a rotation where you had other legitimate safeties, no doubt about it. But as your prime guy, it's totally unacceptable. And some of their decision-making just for this most recent game against the Cardinals
against
here.
The Cards, yeah.
Yeah, is okay. So Avonte Maddox stresses, and these aren't even key reasons why you lost, but it's just about the fact that I don't think they're thinking right now. So Roby's just automatically not a part of this thing anymore. Not that he's great, but Avonte coming off this injury, hey, let's go, Avonte Maddox. He's just not playing. He's absolutely not even dressed. And then Penny gets dressed, and he's a non-factor. So what is the idea here? What are the thoughts? The timeouts from the head coach. Things are slipping away. A 2nd and 2 goes to a 3rd and 9 because you lose 7 yards. Guys in the fourth quarter don't know who's supposed to be on the field.
Yep.
What good team operates like that this late in the season? Zip, dude. Zip.
The announcers were mocking the Eagles for not having personnel on the field. Right? Like,
I know.
Remember? Like, it was like 15 seconds. I kept going, like, when's the play clock starting? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But, like, they were mocking the fact that it's like, well, he's going off, he's coming on. I think it was Stoll. It was like going on, going off, going on, going off. And you're like, what the like, again, you were in the Super Bowl last year. Up until 5 games ago, you looked poised to go and probably win the entire conference and go back and meet maybe a somewhat struggling Kansas City Chiefs team or somebody else from the AFC. You were on pace for that until the 49ers beat the hell out of you, stole your lunch money and your girlfriend and your car and actually your family. And now you're living in a van down by the river.
Yes, you
anyway,
are, Russ.
Avonte Maddox, you bring this up. Avonte Maddox gets thrown in. They throw him back to the Wolves. They throw him into the fire. He had last played on September 14th. September 14th.
It's crazy.
And to think that they were like, you know what? The smart play here is to throw him back in at the rate that they did. Now, you also mentioned Penny. I don't know if you saw this. I assume that you've been in the loop on this. But there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. There has been a conspiracy theory this entire season, and I can't fucking believe that this is a thing, but it is because Eagles fans. There's a theory out there that the Eagles have been keeping Penny out of the lineup so they had him healthy for the postseason. That the whole reason that Penny has not dressed for most of these games has not been a factor. Why you've seen so much Kenneth Gainwell and then, of course, eventually Boston Scott. The reason that you've seen them and not Penny is because they're like, well, Penny can't be healthy, and we would love to go into the postseason with a healthy Penny. That's going to be the thing that's going to put them over the top. Who needs to go out and acquire a running back at the trade deadline? We have Penny.
All right, I want to take
your
it.
Thoughts.
I want
Penny
to
for your thoughts, sir.
I want to take it a step further because not only was it just a Penny thing, but I took calls all week on WIP. This most recent week where it was they're playing possum, so Nick Sirianni enters the postseason and then they hit a new gear. Dude, no. You know what the worst part is? Because Rob Ellis and I were debating this, and Russ, I'll ask you as well. What's worse, right? In this hypothetical sense, you got one side where it's exactly what I laid out. They are just playing possum. They're pretending to be bad. So when it's playoff time, they pull out the real playbook. Or they're actually this bad and they're trying everything to get back on track. And they're actually putting in all their effort and they're putting in all their time and they're watching all the film and they're actually seriously trying their best. And this is the result. What's worse? What's worse? And by the way, the answer to what's really happening here is the latter. I'm just going to be honest with you. But seriously, what's worse?
Well, on one hand, you're withholding information. You're holding yourself back.
Competitive disadvantage.
You've put, let's go with mechanical terms here, all right? Little mechanical terms. You're putting the governor on the car there, all right? You're limiting its top speed because you think you can, and you think you can rush yourself into the postseason without going at 100. You're gonna cap it at 60 miles per hour because you think that that's what can get it done in a bad NFC. And in fairness, through the first 11 weeks of the season, you're probably right. You were. And up until, again, San Francisco, until then, you probably could have withheld. However, over the last 5 weeks, that hasn't been the case. I mean, this could have been an 0-5 stretch. Let's not act like the game against the Giants was some kind of, reawakening of the team. They had moments in that game that they were lucky. The fact that this even got to a point where in week 17, we entered the week going, well, all right, if things break their way the right way with the Dallas game, that they're going to be able to walk into the NFC East without a real issue. Or if Detroit falls off, if they falter, and then, San Francisco play the Rams in week 18,
I
right?
think you're right. Yep.
And it was all right, well, the Rams will be fighting for a playoff spot, so there's that outside chance that could be their loss. Eagles win out. We were having these conversations. We thought that it was a chance. But what they've proven is there is nothing else. There's nothing else to give here. They fired a magic bullet that isn't supposed to be fired if you are a Super Bowl contending team. They fired the fucking defensive coordinator. You don't do that. All right? Like, and by the way, if there are people who are watching right now or who go back and listen to this after the fact, and like maybe you're going to scream, scream through the keyboard, right? And by all means, please do. We love that. Love the engagement. If you're sitting there going, well, here are the last 6 times that a Super Bowl contending team fired one of their coordinators mid-season or as late as the Eagles did, and this is the record and this is where they went, like, by all means, please let us know. But that is a panic move. And if Jeff McClain's reporting in recent days is to be believed that they stripped the defensive coordinator, well, now former defensive coordinator of third down play calling weeks ago, not like last week, right? It wasn't just like, hey, we're thinking that we might flip the script to Matt Patricia here in a week. Like, no, it's been weeks of this. You fired that bullet, and there's nothing left. If you fire Brian Johnson, which they're not going to do, what exactly does that say? That says that everything's in disarray. The locker room's in disarray. The organization's in disarray. Nick Sirianni came out like a week ago, right? He was asked about could they make a change in offensive coordinator? And Nick was pretty much like, well, I have a significant say in the offensive scheme. So Sirianni, in like kind of defending Brian Johnson, also said, hey, he's not the fucking idiot. I also am too. Like, we're both idiots. We're both two halves of a whole idiot. And that's what you have on the offensive side of the ball. That's crazy.
Of course it's crazy. Of course it is. Now, it's not all said and done here, baby. I think we got a shot at the number 1 seed still. Or no, the number 2 seed. Hold on. They have they got a tiebreaker with Detroit. So an Eagles win plus a Dallas loss would give them the 2 seed no matter what Detroit does. Hey, listen, take it for what it is. All right, I'm just a messenger. Dude, how about Josh Sweat? When Josh Sweat doesn't get to the quarterback and then he's on the sidelines, head down, doesn't feel like playing anymore, complaining, sad, feeling sorry for himself. How about you get your head out of your ass and figure it the hell out? Brandon Graham trying to be positive afterwards. Oh, no. We love BG to death. Everybody in this entire city loves BG to death. But, dude, let's read the room. All right, tonight's not the night to get hit with any sort of nonsense of positivity. This team is a disaster. They don't know what they're doing, and they're getting outworked. Like, they are legitimately not believing in what the coaches are selling. It's so down bad that Arizona just won the bet and whooped their ass, dude. Like, literally whooped their ass and competed for Jonathan Gannon. And Jonathan Gannon did what Nick Sirianni did all last year and applied this own game plan right back into his face. Keep the offense off the field. Kyler Murray is milking these drives, dude. Milking them. They're long. They're sustained. You didn't get your first touch until under the 2-minute warning in the second quarter. What Jonathan Gannon did. Think about how low we've gotten. I gave the 49ers a standing O for not only beating us down, but destroying our entire fandom. Kudos to you, you son of a bitch. I'm jealous. And then now we got this old debacle too. So, it's unbelievable.
You mentioned Brandon Graham. There might not be a guy in the city with more respect from a fan base who might have, he arguably has like top 2, top 3 fan approval. When you look at it and you go, hey, a smile that lights up the room, a guy that you want to get behind, a guy who, when he lost a season to the Achilles, you wanted to see him get back. You wanted to see him get a chance. And then last year it was like, get that chance, get to the Super Bowl. And I feel like people wanted to see him win that Super Bowl more than probably anybody else on the team because of the adversity he fought through and the fact that he is such a positive guy. But I agree. When I heard him post-game, and when I heard him trying to put the positive spin, I get it. Politically, as a team, somebody has to be the one to go out and try to say things are okay or things are heading in the right direction. But with all due respect, and I felt like Stephen A. Smith for a second where I was like, this is a very close personal friend of mine. He's the godfather to my children.
Well, hold on. No. That was a little Trumpish, I thought. I thought that was like a Stephen A.
He's the godfather to my children.
Yeah.
But like,
it was a combo.
You have to be very careful when you're doing the Stephen A. Smith, all right? Like, yeah. There's a very good one here, but it's a little bit late. Don't want to wake up the kids. You got to go up here. But like, I sat there and I went, no. What are you doing? Please. Like, don't. It's almost gaslighting. Don't gaslight. We don't need that. All right? It's okay to come out and say, look, we know that this is bad. Like, I personally think that we have the guys in the locker room that we can do it, but everybody else needs to buy in. And what that says is, all right, Brandon Graham, veteran, he's been here, he's done it, he's won a Super Bowl. He still has confidence, but he is putting some onus on the other guys. What he said was much more, in my opinion, from the way that I interpreted it was, hey, we haven't given up on it. And we still believe in each other. And we still think that, like, we have that ability to get this over. I don't think that the rest of the guys believe that.
No, A.J. Brown, not speaking, Russ, tells you exactly how he feels about this entire organization right now.
A.J. Brown sat exasperated after the final horn. He's sitting in the end zone, right? Two teammates come over to help him up, and he just sits there. He's like, he looks like when you're playing youth sports and you're on the team that, like, you have all of the momentum and you feel like, this is going to be the year. We're going to get that cute little trophy. The one that, like, they might inscribe the name of our team on. Maybe, if we're lucky. And you feel it, and you know it, and in your mind, you're like, we are going to win it. And then, like, some upstart team that you didn't expect, they beat you. And you sit there for a minute, and you go, wow. Like, it's actually over. You don't conceptualize when you're on that kind of run that, like, it could come to an end. It doesn't hit you. That, to me, is what that looked like. That looked like A.J. Brown, I think, to some extent, going like, all right, maybe it was me. Like, maybe I've been negative. Maybe this thing, maybe I wasn't giving it a chance. But after that game against a 3-win team and the way they got dominated, he just sat there and he's like, yep.
Yeah,
like,
no, I think that's perfect. I really do think that's a perfect description of that A.J. Brown sequence. It was almost it settling in that, this is reality. Maybe I gave it a second thought and let's go pound Cardinals, see what happens. And then that was the reality smacking him in the face. Bro, we blow. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, when he got approached in the locker room after the game, he had that kind of smile. And it's not the I'm happy smile. It's the, like, oh
sarcasm.
My God. It was like
sarcasm.
And he even said, he's like, what's there to say? Like, there's nothing to say because he knows if he goes and says something. I said on Twitter, I would love to have just had him have his moment to just unload on the coaching staff. It wasn't going to happen. The guy's an upstanding guy. He's a good teammate. You know, some people are saying he's not a great teammate because he's not talking.
I've been saying that for the last week, but I do think that this shifted everything for me because I guess there's so many deeper issues that I'm putting that to the side. Would I have liked for him to be better during the time of adversity? Yes, but it's so down bad right now that whatever. I think he's got a reasonable point, and the way he handled it after the loss against the Cardinals, it was more along the lines of, hey, it's not about you. It's not about the media. It's not really about anything you guys are writing. I got a problem with what's happening up top, and rightfully so. The results tell the story.
And the thing is, like, I know that people have gotten upset because they're like, wow, he's gotten upset in some games. He hasn't seen enough targets. And then you look at it and it's like, well, he's getting a bigger target share than most guys on the roster, right? Like, at some point you do have to say as a competitor, like, you want to put up your stats. You want to contribute to the team. You do have another stud receiver on the other side across from you. And you do have a very good tight end, right? But, like, I understand, I guess, why he doesn't want to go out and he doesn't want to be the guy that has to finally, like, break the levee on it. You know, but I do think it's a shame. Like, I do think that, like, conceptually, having somebody go out and say publicly, we have some serious things we have to talk about as a team. And, like, there are things that I just don't think are being done correctly. And until they're fixed, like, I don't know what else there is to do.
I don't think it can get fixed if Nick Sirianni's the head coach. And I'm not saying to fire him. I'm just saying I don't think he has what it takes. And you don't fire a coach that makes the playoffs 3 years in a row, Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. But you got to definitely watch it closer than we ever would have imagined in a million years. That's all. I'm just saying we got to really put the binoculars and focus on him. And just because we brought up BG, I just want to throw this your way. You know who the most consistent defensive lineman is this year? It's probably Fletcher Cox. Believe it or not, it might be Fletcher Cox. The guy's in year 73. And Jalen Carter hits a rookie wall, and Josh Sweat has a lot of snaps. How come all these people have excuse? Jordan Davis is in his second year, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's go. And I do believe Jalen Carter is going to be one of those game wreckers for years to come and all, but that doesn't make the right now any easier. You know, it's crazy that Fletcher Cox at his age might be your most important defensive front player. If that's where
that's
you're bred, right? And something you brought up earlier in the show is the philosophy of Howie Roseman. Well, the philosophy is that's your bread and butter. If you have a poor linebacker and you have below average safeties, but your defensive front is getting you 60 sacks or something along those lines, then fine. I could go with the way you build it. It doesn't work like this, and that's where you put all your money. So we need more. We need more from a lot of those guys.
So you don't think they can turn it around with Nick Sirianni, but you're not calling for his job. I love the hedge. I do love the hedge there.
Well, I do
that's
think
a great hedge.
As much as I believe deep down that he might not be as good as we thought, I don't want to. I do think it would be a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, because what if they hit the reset button in the offseason, get some coordinators, and see, it's a weird position for me where I almost am trapped in a corner, because if you have a head coach that needs a lot of help, your head coach isn't good, right? But there are plenty of examples of someone like Frank Reich, who I think could be an awesome OC, but he doesn't fit the mold of a head coach. Like, there is a role for that. Josh McDaniels, nobody wants to play for that guy as a head coach, but he could work as an offensive coordinator. There are guys that do that. Not saying I want him in my locker room by any means. I'm just saying Nick Sirianni does have something when things are going well that it does work as a very good head coach. So I'm just not ready to give up yet.
Al Mack asks on Twitter, when do we hire Frank Reich?
I thought they would have done that a ways back, or they might have did something behind the scenes that we didn't even know yet. One of those, they bring in a consultant. Didn't they bring in John Dorsey from Cleveland? Nobody knew about it until weeks after. There'll be a McLean piece pretty damn soon about someone who's in that building. They did it with Patricia. Here's his picture online. Oh, wait, no, it's not. I took it off the website. They're a mess.
I have an idea for you.
Hit me.
Right. And when I say this, I need you to understand that I think this could fix the Eagles. It can certainly help them on the offensive side of the ball. There's a man who needs a job.
Tom Brady.
No. There's a man who needs a job, who has worked with a young quarterback and who has done a bang-up job. Now, he's unemployed. However, he has a great record of keeping teams together and of developing young quarterbacks and making them. Brandon Staley. You know, you wanted to go after Brandon Staley years ago when you ended up hiring Nick Sirianni. Brandon Staley, bring him in. What could possibly go wrong?
To help out with some defense? Jeez. Yeah, he wanted nothing
I want him to help on offense.
Oh, you want him
I want him to help on offense. I'm thinking like a little Juan Castillo action here. Like, let's switch sides of the ball.
Oh my God. We just dealt with Matt Patricia doing that in New England. How'd that go?
It went totally fine. He was great. That's why they brought him here, because he was so successful.
Brandon Staley said, I don't want to deal with Howie Roseman. And Howie deserves a lot of blame, but I just find that hysterical.
Here's another one. I don't want another season of Sirianni, says Matt Carmody on Twitter. We've seen this movie before. Tear it down. New head coach time.
Someone asked me, Russ, if they won a game in the playoffs, how much does it change our perception with everything? And I made it very clear. If they won like Baltimore won today and won 56-19, I'm in. It will never happen. Never, ever, ever. If they win a game 21-20 and they go 3 and out 17 times, there's 32 QB draws and there's 17 screens, then I'm out. So go ahead. Go win a game. Go win a postseason game and win by 40. I might think we could have a chance the following week. But you got to go win by 40 first, and I'll tell you, that ain't happening. You got a better chance at AEW beating WWE's ratings this upcoming week.
Here we go. Hey, Dynamite beat Raw last week, you know? Hey, yeah.
That's
Never mind
because
the fact Raw was winning the highlight show.
Yeah, highlight package.
Shh. There are journalists on Twitter who's like, oh, there it is. It's a sign. Things are turning around. We're not doing that. That's a different show.
Okay.
Different show. You know better.
I know. But listen, these are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
I think this is why I'm so upset, though, is because on any team that is supposed to contend for a Super Bowl, at least one side of the ball is dominant. And this team isn't dominant on either side. Like, if you said that, what you just said to me, about like a dominant win, a 59-16 win. If I believed that Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni were capable of putting together a game plan where you go off in round one and you're on the road because this ain't looking like you're going to win the NFC East. I mean, Dallas is Dallas, but like I don't think you're going to. If you tell me that those two can put together an offensive game plan that's going to allow you to outscore the opposition 35-32, or they're going to put up a 40 spot, or they're going to put up 28, but it's going to be a really strong 28. First of all, I don't believe you. But if this were a situation where we could, then I'd say, all right, like maybe you could preserve a job, and then maybe you could sell me on the idea that, hey, in the offseason, Howie's feet are to the fire. He can't have an entire, again, level of the defense that has no healthy bodies, has no dynamic playmakers, has really like no steady veteran presence at all. And we're going to get a new defensive coordinator. Like if they could put together that kind of game and pull off a first-round win, despite the fact that they screwed themselves into having to be a road team in the playoffs, then fine. Like maybe we could have the conversation. But like you can't. I can't go there. I can't be there.
No,
because
you're right.
You don't get a prize. I don't give a prize to somebody who put themselves in a bad position in the first place. This was all avoidable. A 1-4 stretch was avoidable. A lot of the mistakes that they have made, the systemic issues that have existed since the very beginning of the season when we've all said, just imagine if they put it all together. All of those issues continue to permeate both sides of the ball. I don't have the faith that this team has one facet of the game that they're so dominant in and willing to take advantage of that they could go out and win two games.
Special teams, baby. Little Jake Elliott, little punting action too. You got good leg back there. That's what you got, dude.
Love Jake Elliott.
Yeah, me too. I will say to wrap things up here, right? Because I got one sentence to go, basically.
Go.
Right? They're poorly coached. They are extremely poorly coached. And that's where it starts. That doesn't mean Jalen isn't playing bad, because there's times where he's not playing well. But when you're expressing explosive plays and, you don't run the ball as much as you should, and you ask the quarterback to run QB draws and all that stuff, when your staples are this terrible, they are poorly coached. And that's really where it is right now. They're a poorly coached team every way around it except for Jeff Stoutland. That's what it is. It's amazing, isn't it?
There's that old adage.
Jeff Stoutland?
No. Hard work beats talent, and talent doesn't work.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't even know how much talent the team really has. I don't know how much of this is a case of...
Offensively, they do. Defensively, they don't.
Offensively, they have the talent. They're poorly coached. Defensively, I don't think we're going to know until all of the warts come out in the offseason, until all these guys start opening up, and until we really start to get a better feel for how things fell apart in the locker room. And if they make a coaching change, if they make a head coaching change, I don't think we're going to know until we get to that point. But defensively, between the lack of personnel and the fact that they've now changed defensive coordinators and it's still the same issues, I don't know. It could be coaching. It could just be a talent deficiency. Either way, they have a lot to fix.
Sure.
I hope that you and I are wrong. I hope that I don't care about next week's game. I obviously care about the playoffs. Let's see where this team is. If they pull off 2 wins, they get themselves into a position where they can maybe punch their ticket back to the Super Bowl.
Here we go.
And maybe you and I reconvene and we have this conversation. We go, all right, this changed. XYZ changed, and it's a damn good thing. But what's more likely to happen is we look at this a few weeks from now and we feel the same way that we felt about the Phillies, the same way that I felt about the Union, where I look and I say, this is why it's so important that you execute, and it's so important that you win when you get to the biggest stage, because you cannot take anything for granted. And it's now happened with the Union, an early playoff exit, the Phillies, a much earlier than expected playoff exit.
Polish the cup.
This Eagles team.
Polish
the cup,
baby.
They lost tonight, but you know what? Your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers.
There's only one pod to listen to for that. No,
I've been told that Snow the Goalie is the only Flyers podcast. I don't know. You would think that by now somebody else would have started one, but here we are.
That's right.
Still rocking it. Anyway, Brodes, thanks for hopping on the show.
Of course.
Where can people find you?
Brodes81 on Twitter and Instagram. Brodes Media on the tube. Oh, that sounded a little weird, like it's porn. Not porn. Not porn. YouTube. Don't have a Pornhub account or an OnlyFans. Although I do hear it makes a lot of money. Did not expect this ending. Let's wrap it up. Where's the end button? How do you end this thing?
Some would say it's a pretty happy ending to the show. Everybody have a great remaining 18 minutes of 2023 and hope that you have a fantastic start to the new year. It has to be better than the feeling we all had at the end of the Eagles-Cardinals game. So for Brodes, I'm Russ. Thanks for checking in. Talk to you soon.